when there is nothing left but love. Chapter 3. I agree to a divorce. I knew very well that getting him to stay was impossible, but I still wanted to try my luck. Leveling my gaze with his, I announced, I agree to a divorce, but I have my conditions. Stay here tonight and accompany me throughout Grandpa's funeral. I'll sign the divorce papers as soon as it ends. His gaze narrowed. His dark orbs brimmed with ridicule and his mouth twitched slightly. Please me. He released my chin and leaned forward to whisper against my ear. All talk and no action will get you nowhere, Scarlett. His voice was icy with a hint of provocation. I knew what he meant, so I snaked my arms around his waist as I leaned my face close to his. I probably looked comical due to the height difference between us. I didn't know how to feel about it. I had used such a despicable method to force the person I liked to stay with me. Pathetic, perhaps. Following my instincts, I was about to slide my hand downwards when I was suddenly grabbed by him. I snapped my head up and was met with his dark and impenetrable eyes. That's enough. His flat voice stunned me for a moment as I tried but failed to comprehend his words. He then took his grey pajamas from the bed and put them on in a few elegant motions. I was dumbfounded for a while before I eventually recovered from my shock. Is he staying? To my utter misfortune, before I could even feel happy about my accomplishment, a woman's voice sounded outside the window amidst the pitter-patter of the rain. Ashton. While I was still in shock, Ashton had already reacted. He walked toward the balcony in large strides and looked out. Then, with a gloomy expression, he picked up his coat and left the bedroom. Rebecca was standing in the rain below the balcony. The cold droplets had already drenched her thin dress completely by then. The beautiful woman was already frail, and she looked increasingly pitiful as she persevered in the rain. Draping the coat that he had brought with him over her shoulders, Ashton was about to chide Rebecca. In spite of that, she hugged him tightly and sobbed in his arms. As the scene unfolded, a sudden realization dawned upon me. I finally understood why my 2-year marriage with Ashton couldn't compare to a single phone call from Rebecca. Ashton led Rebecca into the villa with his arm around her. I stood at the top of the stairs when he brought her up, blocking their way just as I scanned their soaked clothes. Get out of the way, Ashton snapped in disgust. Was I sad? I didn't know, either. But my eyes hurt more than my heart did. Having witnessed the person they love treating another woman as a precious gem, all while trampling all over me. Ashton, back when we'd gotten married, you promised Grandpa that you would never allow her to set foot in this house as long as I am here. This was where Ashton and I lived together. On more nights than I could count, I had let Rebecca have him. As if that weren't enough, he was allowing her taint the only place I could call mine. Ha! Ashton sneered in return, shoving me aside. He retorted coldly, you think too highly of yourself, Scarlett. His mockery toward me knew no bounds. In the end, I could only watch as he brought Rebecca into the guest room like the bystander I was. Tonight was destined to be a restless night. Rebecca was exposed to the heavy downpour outside. Her body was already weak, to begin with, so she developed a high fever from standing in the rain. Ashton cared for her like a precious gem, assisting her in changing into a clean set of clothes while using a towel to bring down her temperature. Perhaps the sight of me standing there was an eyesore to him, so he directed his cold gaze at me and ordered, go back to the Fullers' family home now. Rebecca won't be able to go anywhere tonight in her current state. He wants me to go at this hour. Ha ha. I guess I really am an eyesore. After staring at Ashton for a long time, I couldn't find the words to remind him that the family home was miles away from here. It would be dangerous for a woman to go out alone this late at night. However, such things didn't concern him. He only cared about making sure that Rebecca's rest wasn't too affected by my presence. I forced myself to breathe through the bitter pain in my chest before declaring placidly, I'll return to the bedroom. It's not appropriate to be heading to the family home now. I would not allow him to step all over me even though I knew he didn't cherish me one bit. Upon leaving the guest room, I met Jared Crest along the corridor as he hurried over. Noticing that he was still clad in his black pajamas, I deduced that he must have rushed over to the villa. He hadn't even changed his shoes and his pajamas were almost completely soaked through. Welcome to download Flipread app to read more chapters of When There Is Nothing Left But Love novel online.